If I would say the words of the tank buster plane, most immediate would come to mind of the people most famous American A-10 Warhog, most commonly nicknamed Warhog. This beast has been in continuity of the battle since 1977 and has proved its combat capability and nobility of the two Gulf Wars, provided close air support to ground targets and effective against enemy armor and vehicles, but not the first to indicate the tank buster. Honors belong to the British aircraft from World War II, the Hawk and Hurricane. The first introduced into the RAF service in 1947, it was the most notorious British fighter during the Battle of Britain, and overdowned by the public of continuity of the Supermarine Spitfire. By the time the production ended in 1944, almost 14,100,000 Hurricanes were built, in many marques and during the First World tank busting aircraft. It was the western desert of North Africa that the idea of the continuity of the modified Hurricane, of an anti-tank ribbon of the Afrika Korps of German and Italian allies managed to fight through Egypt with the aim of capturing the Suez Canal, British lifeline to the Far Eastern empires, and the far effort has been made by the British war efforts of Australia, India, New Zealand, Poland, and France to stop Rommel and its defeats in allies of Axis deserts. Of the arena for tanks, the flat open expansion for favored the speed of maneuverability tank and the gunnery had lack of cover, so favored the air operations. The Allies had the lack of aircraft of the right armatures and the tanks of the other German armored fighting vehicles. The Hurricane fighters in North Africa could strafe the troops and shoot out skin tracks and the field cars. The bomber was often widely incorrected of the missed affair of the needed for an aircraft was fitted with anti-tank guns that could whoop and strafe armor at the same way as ordinary fighters would shoot out supply line columns with machine guns and cannons. Incredibly, the RAF command did not see this aircraft or this tactics. Many of its top considered tanks were defeated. Other ground tanks of anti-tank guns, artilleries, or infantry, but not fighter planes. This prevailed. The Hurricane Mark II that was chosen for the controversial into the world's first dedicated tank buster, or the British organizing flying tint opener of the modified Hurricanes was designed by the Mark II-D of the aircraft with 40mm Vickers anti-tank cannons. They were fired in tungsten-tipped shells. No problem with fitting with bulky cannons with the Hurricanes. Several of these first weighted the ammunition that reduced the aircraft. Each modified Mark II and also carried two sounds of Vickers of 303 tracer-aimed modern A-tank tank busters, which was very heavily armored due to the speed and vulnerability of ground fire. It is very vulnerable. The Hurricane II-D has faced the same problem, which is reduced speed had made it invulnerable to ground fire, and the armor was added to protect the cockpit, engine, and radiator. The ammunition was carried of the limited time. A 40mm Vickers gun had only 15 rounds, and the cannon shells were capable of penetrating the armor of a German Panzer III. For 4 deserts, and as well as the Italian type, the first use of the Battle of Admin in 1942. 5 RAF squadrons fly the type.
Now they are within range, and you'll see for the first time this deadly gun in action, truly living up to its name, Tankbuster.
Through the skies. Throughout the tank kills of the aircraft that had been taken for the pitch assault of the RAF, noticed of the Hurricanes that had destroyed 70 tanks, and 150 were hit, plus according to the destruction of 200 other Axis vehicles. But the balance against these were lost during the fighter tin of ground fire interceptions of the Germans, reduced the top speed of the maneuverability due to these bulky guns and extra armor, led to many Hurricanes losing. On the far tinter wave of the tank buster concept has a new way of improved of the ammunition. Now, these few tanks using high explosive ammunition of the Hurricane has saw intensive use in the Burma campaign in the Japanese vehicles in the river of traffic. In the European theater, the manually tank busters was also moved from the old Hurricanes to the new generation ground attack primary Hawk or Typhoon, or the Tempest. They would put air-to-ground rockets created by the German Panzer forces during the Battle of Normandy of summer of 1944. Although there are claims of the tanks that were destroyed, widely inaccurate and consistent presence of these aircraft in the battle have determined the effect of the German mortality and the ability to German launching counterattacks, even when the ground of day of the hulkers of the aircraft carriers, of the pontoon of the aircraft carriers, were even developing and a concept. And it has been considered one of the grandfathers of the present day A-10 Warthog. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share. Bye.